The lights are still on, the parking lots are still full, the checkout lines are still moving, but inside, a lot has changed, and this summer, 10 major retailers are all sending signals that many people have noticed, but rarely put side by side. Some are still bringing in billions of dollars every quarter. Others are still serving millions of shoppers every week. At first glance, everything looks normal. But take a closer look. One store has only a handful of employees left. A familiar pharmacy is getting ready to close. A chain that used to stay packed is now running sales almost year-round. And some names that still seem to be doing just fine are changing much faster than most people realize. 10. Dollar General. You push open the door to a Dollar General shopping list already in hand with a few last-minute things your family needs. But before you've even taken a few steps, you stop. Right in the middle of the main aisle sits a shopping cart piled high with unopened cardboard boxes. You squeeze around it, weaving through a narrow gap between the shelves to find a carton of milk or a pack of diapers, but what catches your eye instead are bare empty spaces. Back at the checkout, a long line of people waits patiently. And in this entire store, there's only one employee, sweating behind the register while glancing every so often at the stack of boxes still waiting to be unloaded. This isn't just an unlucky day with someone calling out sick. The crowded aisles and chronic understaffing have become a familiar sight at thousands of Dollar General stores across the country. Over the years, the chain expanded at a breakneck pace, growing to more than 20,000 stores. Each location brings in about 2 million in annual sales on average. But behind that growth, many stores typically operate with only one or two employees on a shift. And when the workload becomes too much for just a few people, the cracks begin to show throughout the store. According to reports from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, inspections at locations across the country found repeated workplace safety violations. Over the years, the penalties have added up to more than 26 million dollars. In early 2024, the company agreed to a nationwide $12 million settlement, requiring it to reduce the amount of inventory stored inside its stores and improve stocking practices so aisles and emergency exits would remain clear. Now look back at that checkout. The only employee still can't step away from the register. The stack of cardboard boxes is still sitting in the corner of the aisle. And the line of customers keeps getting longer. Dollar General used to be one of the most convenient and affordable places for families in small towns. But when too much work falls on too few employees, that everyday convenience starts to show cracks that shoppers can't ignore. Low prices no longer mean an easy shopping trip. And Dollar General isn't the only place where these quiet changes are showing up. Even something as simple as a quick stop on the way to work each morning is starting to change. 9711 for 11. You've just finished pumping gas. Your hand reaches for the door handle, ready to walk into 7-Eleven. You glance through the glass, check the time, pull your hand back, get back in the car, and drive away. Moments like that are happening more and more every day. For decades, what 7-Eleven sold was never just a bottle of soda or a bag of chips. What it really sold was time. People stopped in because it was fast, convenient, and already along their daily route. But that definition of convenience is starting to change. In many areas, drivers now have better options. Chains like Wawa have become spacious stops with freshly made food, while many families would rather stock up in one trip at Costco instead of making quick stops at smaller convenience stores. Summer has always been the busiest travel season. More road trips, more people on the move. Convenience stores usually expect a surge in traffic. That's why the changes this summer have been even easier to notice. With more than 13,000 stores across North America, it's hard to drive very far without seeing a 7-Eleven sign. But recently, its parent company announced plans to close or restructure about 444 locations. The important part isn't the number 444, it's that even a chain that's almost everywhere has started trimming underperforming stores. At the same time, one of its biggest traffic drivers isn't what it used to be. For years, cigarettes brought a steady stream of customers into convenience stores. As smoking rates declined, fewer people stopped in for a pack of cigarettes and grabbed a drink on the way to the register. According to customer traffic reports, visits to 7-Eleven stores have declined for several consecutive quarters, with some periods down by more than 7% compared with the same time a year earlier. Now think back to that gas station this morning. Your car has already merged onto the highway. Behind you, the 7-Eleven sign is still glowing above the gas pumps, but fewer cars are pulling in than before. People are still shopping. They're just thinking more carefully about where to stop. And at the next chain, what's changing isn't the stop itself, it's trust in those sale signs. 8. KOLs. You pick up a t-shirt from the rack. A bright red 50% off sign hangs right above it. Out of habit, you pull out your phone and search for the brand to compare prices. You pause for a few seconds, realize the sale price is still higher than you expected, then quietly put the shirt back on the shelf. People don't walk into Kohl's just to browse. They go in expecting to find a bargain. But deciding to spend money isn't as easy as it used to be. For years, Kohl's built its reputation around list prices stacked with coupons, discounts, and Kohl's cash rewards. There was a time when finding a deeply discounted item felt like a real win for families, but shopping habits have changed. As budgets get tighter, people aren't automatically convinced by a big percentage off anymore. Instead, they're taking more time to compare the final price with stores like TJ Maxx, Ross, or Amazon. The excitement of scoring a great deal has been replaced by careful math. That pressure shows up in the numbers for the department store chains, more than 1,100 locations across the country. Same-store sales have declined for 5 straight quarters, contributing to a nearly 5.3% drop in total net sales in its most recent reports. To bring shoppers back, Kohl's has turned hundreds of stores into Amazon return locations while expanding Sephora's shop-in-shops to more than 1,000 stores. Those Sephora locations have generated more than $1.4 billion in beauty sales. Even so, the extra traffic from beauty shoppers and Amazon returns hasn't been enough to make up for weaker sales in its traditional apparel business. The aisles at Kohl's are still busy. There just aren't as many shopping carts filled to the top, making their way to the checkout anymore. The sale signs are still there. What's changed is the confidence people have in them. And at the next chain, people aren't debating the prices anymore. They're debating the brand itself. 7. Target. You're standing in the housewares aisle holding a $35 frying pan. Out of habit, you pull out your phone and check a shopping app to compare prices. The screen shows a lower price somewhere else for a similar pan. You pause for a few seconds, glance around the store, then slowly put it back on the shelf. There was a time when Target wasn't just a place to shop. It represented a different kind of shopping experience for many middle-class families. A bright, thoughtfully designed store that felt different from traditional discount retailers, with prices reasonable enough that someone stopping in for toilet paper would also toss a couple of new pillows, a scented candle, or a few home decor items into the cart. But that comfortable shopping experience has been slowly chipped away by everyday reality. People walking into Target today are noticing things that weren't there before. Personal care products and electronics are locked behind glass, forcing shoppers to press a button and wait for an employee to unlock the case. Self-checkout lanes now limit the number of items, creating longer lines and more waiting. The easy, relaxed shopping trip many people remember has gradually been replaced by closer attention to prices and a growing focus on the overall experience. That pressure is showing up in the company's numbers. With a nationwide network of nearly 2,000 stores, Target has reported same-store sales declines of as much as 3.7% in recent financial reports. Customer transactions fell 1.9%, and at one point, net income dropped 12% from the prior period. At the same time, the company estimated that the inventory shrink reduced profits by more than $500 million, leading it to permanently close 9 stores in major cities because of safety and security concerns. What sets Target apart from the chains we've already talked about isn't the number of stores it closed, and it isn't just the sales figures. It's the expectations people bring with them. When people walk into a discount store, they expect to grab what they need and leave. But when they walk into Target, they expect a comfortable space and a shopping experience that feels a little more enjoyable. The biggest change isn't sitting on the shelves, it's in how people feel the moment they walk through the front door. The signs of that change aren't found in angry criticism, they're showing up in the smallest everyday habits. Many families still shop at Target. They just don't wander through the home decor aisles anymore or toss a few unplanned items into the cart. They walk straight to what they came for, pay for exactly that, and head home. 6. Dollar Tree Family Dollar. You're holding a low-priced box of cookies. Out of habit, instead of dropping it straight into your cart like you used to, you turn it over, squint at the manufacturing date and expiration date, check the sealed edges of the package, then pause before deciding whether to buy it. That small habit is becoming more common in discount stores. For years, the success of Dollar Tree and Family Dollar wasn't built on low prices alone. What they really sold families was peace of mind, the confidence that a low-cost product was still perfectly good for everyday use without having to think twice about it. Today, Dollar Tree isn't just selling low prices anymore. It's trying to rebuild trust in the value of those low-price products. After the high-profile issues involving storage conditions at several Family Dollar distribution centers, followed by increased FDA inspections and a widespread product recall, shoppers began to think differently. More people started reading labels, checking expiration dates, and inspecting packaging more carefully before buying. The question was no longer just how cheap something was. It became whether it still felt safe enough to bring home. The pressure on both customer trust and operating costs is reflected in the company's restructuring. With a combined network of more than 16,000 stores, the company announced plans to close or optimize about 1,000 underperforming Family Dollar locations. At the same time, the dollar store model that had defined the chain for decades had to change. The standard price moved to 125, while Dollar Tree's Plus expanded to more than 4,500 stores, introducing $3 and $5 price points. That helped drive same-store sales growth of about 4.6% for the Dollar Tree brand. But even as prices moved up slightly, shoppers weren't reacting only to the extra few cents. The biggest change wasn't the price. It was how much confidence people needed before putting something into their cart. Now look around the store. Customers are still walking through the doors. Shopping carts are still rolling down the aisles. But in the food and everyday essentials sections, more people are stopping, turning products over, and reading every label a little more carefully before making a decision. Low prices still bring people in, but before putting something in the cart, many shoppers now spend a few extra seconds reading the label. 5. At home. You pick up a burnt orange throw pillow that would look perfect in your living room. You hold it for a moment, admire the pattern, then look at the price tag. You pause, let out a quiet sigh, and gently put it back on the shelf. Not because you don't like it, but because you tell yourself, maybe next time. That pillow isn't the only thing being left behind. For years, At Home, the home decor chain with massive warehouse-sized stores, never just sold furniture or area rugs. What it really offered families was the feeling of making a house warmer, more inviting, and more personal. A potted plant for the corner of the room, a new table lamp, a picture frame, a scented candle, small purchases that made weekends feel a little brighter. But as spending on essentials like groceries, electricity, gas, and housing continued to rise, the budget for things that were nice to have, but not necessary, started to disappear. The hardship isn't just reflected in what people have to buy, it's just as visible in what they decide not to buy. Spending on home decor, seasonal decorations, and products meant to refresh a living space has been put on hold. The house is still there. The desire to decorate it has simply been pushed aside for now. That pressure became impossible to ignore when At Home entered Chapter 11 bankruptcy restructuring. Burdened by more than $2 billion in debt from years of aggressive expansion, the company was forced to renegotiate expensive leases across its network of more than 250 large format stores, leading to the decision to shrink its footprint and close a number of underperforming locations. Now go back to those wide aisles. People are still walking past shelves stacked almost to the ceiling. You just don't see as many throw pillows or scented candles in their hands anymore. They look. Then they keep walking. The house hasn't gotten any smaller. The things that once made it feel a little cozier are simply staying on the shelf. 4. Joann stores. A half-finished blanket sits on an armchair in the corner of the living room, collecting dust. Next to it is a box filled with colorful skeins of yarn and a neatly organized set of knitting needles. A grandchild walks over and asks, "Grandma, are we going to finish the sweater this weekend?" She smiles, gently pats the child's head, and says, "Maybe next weekend." Then one weekend turns into another, and the blanket is still sitting there. For more than 80 years, Joann's stores never just sold fabric or balls of yarn. What it really gave families was time spent together. A few years ago, when people were spending more time at home, sewing, knitting, and DIY projects made a big comeback. Many families found joy in making a blanket, a holiday decoration, or a Halloween costume by hand. But as the cost of living climbed and weekends became harder to hold on to, that wave faded just as quickly. As everyday essentials took a bigger bite out of the budget and work hours stretched longer, personal craft projects slipped down the priority list. Free weekend time became harder to find, and making something by hand gradually gave way to faster, more convenient choices. The decline in spending on hobbies and creative projects hit Joanne especially hard. After filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy a second time in less than a year, the company couldn't find an investor willing to keep the business going. The plan shifted from closing some stores to liquidating nearly all 800 locations nationwide, bringing more than 80 years of one of the country's largest craft retailers to an end. Now go back to that quiet corner of the living room. The unfinished blanket is still there, waiting for the day someone comes back to finish it. Some things can always be bought again, but some weekend afternoons, once they're gone, never come back. Satya 3, Party City. This year, my child's birthday was just a small cake and a few candles. No balloon arch, no decorated party table like we had a few years ago. My child smiled the whole time. I was the one who felt a little sad. A lot of people reading those words will see their own family in them. The comment never mentions Party City, but it explains exactly why the country's biggest party supply chain ended up facing the toughest period in its history. Picture a mom standing in the party decorations aisle. She's holding a pack of liter balloons, a bundle of metallic streamers, and a few birthday hats. She quietly adds up the total in her head, then puts half of it back on the shelf. Her child looks up and asks, "We're not putting balloons all over the ceiling like last year." She smiles and nods. "We're keeping it simple this year, but it's still going to be fun." Maybe Party City never realized that the thing it sold most was never balloons or plastic cups. What it really gave families was the feeling that came with life's special moments: birthdays, graduations, baby showers, and holiday celebrations. But the way people celebrate those moments is changing. Families still gather together. They just have to think more carefully about every dollar as the cost of living keeps rising. More people are making simple decorations at home, reusing what they already have or cutting out extras that aren't really necessary. The pressure started with rising operating costs, especially a helium shortage that drove balloon prices higher. As sales declined, Party City's debt climbed past $1 billion dollars across a network of more than 700 stores. Eventually, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, launched a major restructuring, and permanently closed more than 80 locations. Now go back to tonight's birthday table. There's no giant balloon arch, just a birthday cake and the smile on a child's face while blowing out the candles. Birthdays still come around every year. The parties have simply become more modest. What has changed isn't the love families have for their children, it's the way they hold on to that joy with a budget that keeps getting tighter. 2. Walgreens. Today I drove to the Walgreens at the end of my street to pick up my blood pressure prescription, but the pharmacy was dark. A sign on the door said, "This store has closed. Please visit the next nearest location." I checked my phone and the closest pharmacy was more than 20 miles away. That post on social media describes exactly what many families, especially older adults and people living with chronic health conditions, are beginning to experience. The prescription hasn't changed. The place to pick it up is no longer just down the street. For decades, Walgreens never just sold mouthwash or bottles of vitamins. What it really gave people was peace of mind, the confidence that a trusted pharmacy was always close to home. But that convenience so many people took for granted is slowly becoming a luxury. People can put off buying a decorative pillow or skip the birthday balloons and life goes on. Prescription medicine doesn't work that way, but changes across the pharmacy industry, rising operating costs, and growing competition from home prescription delivery have pushed Walgreens into a major transformation. That pressure is clear in the company's restructuring plan. Walgreens has announced it will close about 1,200 stores over the next 3 years, roughly a quarter of its U.S. locations, along with selling parts of its business to investment firms such as Sycamore Partners to reduce its financial burden. The wave of store closures has raised concerns about the growing number of pharmacy deserts, communities where people have to travel long distances just to reach basic pharmacy services. Now, go back to that sign on the pharmacy door this morning. The car sits there for a moment, then pulls away for a much longer drive. The medicine still has to be taken on time. For many people, it's just taking a lot longer to get it. The Mer 1. CVS. You push open the glass door and walk into CVS. Instead of the familiar photo counter, the candy aisle and shelves packed with everyday essentials, many of those sections have become smaller. Toward the back of the store, signs pointing to the clinic and vaccination area stand out more than ever. The store you visited every week is quietly becoming something different. Not long ago, people stopped by CVS to pick up a prescription, then grabbed a bottle of shampoo, a tube of toothpaste, or a few household essentials before heading home. That combination of pharmacy and convenience store fit naturally into everyday life. Today, many people walk straight to the pharmacy, pick up their prescription, and leave. This summer, as families continue cutting back on spending beyond the essentials, that shift has become even more visible in the way CVS is redesigning its stores. CVS isn't shrinking because customers have disappeared. It's shrinking because people are using the stores differently, making the old retail model less effective. That pressure has pushed the country's largest pharmacy chain into one of the biggest transformations in its history. With more than 9,000 stores nationwide, CVS has closed around 900 underperforming locations. To reinvent itself, the company made a massive bet by spending $10.6 billion to acquire Oak Street Health and another $8 billion for Signify Health, shifting its focus toward healthcare services. The familiar retail shelves are making room for in-store clinics. A pharmacist slides a prescription through the pickup window. An elderly man takes the bag of medicine and slowly walks back to his car. Behind him, the store he's known for years has taken on a different identity. Not every retailer on today's list is going to disappear. Many of these companies will still be around for years to come. But the changes we've seen make one thing very clear. The lives of families are changing faster than the retailers that once served them. And when the way people live changes, the stores that can't adapt are often the ones facing their hardest chapter. By the end of this video, I don't think the most memorable part is any single number or any one brand. It's the small changes that many people have already started noticing every week without thinking much about them. Putting an item back on the shelf, walking into a store and leaving empty-handed, driving farther than ever to pick up a prescription you've been filling for years. Each moment seems small on its own, but when you put them together, they all tell the same story. I'd really like to hear about your experience. This summer, which retail chain has changed the most in your eyes? Is there a store you used to visit for years that just doesn't feel the same anymore? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading every one of them because it's your real experiences that give these videos their greatest value.